Be'ez Hashem, today's Amud is Daf Hey Amud Beis, in the middle of Torah Hey, B'chatzotzos. Summary of till now, we learned that every person has to say B'shvili Niver Olam. And if the whole world was created just for me, then I need to make sure to daven for any chesronos I see in the world. And there's a difference whether or not those problems and the gezeros I should see in the world are cutting gzadin or la'achar gzadin. Because if they're la'achar gzadin, I can't daven straight. I need to daven in a maimer or in a story, as we're going to see later. Now, how do we know what's for gzadin or la'achar gzadin? So the Rebbe says it's through mitzvahs we do b'simcha. He explains that there's two madregas in simcha. There's a person that doesn't enjoy the mitzvah itself, but since he knows he's getting schar elam haba, so he's sameach from that schar which he knows he's going to get. And then there are people who do mitzvahs and they nana from the mitzvah itself, or they have simcha from the mitzvah itself. He said that's the difference between nevuas Moshe Rabbeinu and nevuas Shar Neviim. The Shar Neviim had a nevuah of a spaklaya sheina meira, that they have a nevuah that they see the schar, but it looks like it's far away because they don't see right in front of them the simchas mitzvah. They only see it from a distance what they're going to get in lahaba. And those who have simcha from the mitzvah itself are a bechinah from Moshe Rabbeinu that he saw the nevuah right in front of him and the simcha right in front of him. So now the Rebbe continues, the bottom of Hamad is that when a person is on this madrega, that he does mitzvahs from such great simcha that he doesn't care about lam haba, he just nana from the simcha itself, then he can know the difference between kodim gzadin and la'achar gzadin through the mitzvahs. How is that? Because all the mitzvahs make up in a complete structure. Same way there are three structures. There's kaimas adam, structure of a person, the structure of the whole world, the way the world looks physically, geography, and then there's the structure of time, kaimas adam, kaimas olam, and kaimas shana, olam shana nefesh. Now, all of them are makabel chiyas for mitzvahs because they're mitzvahs which are totally in a person himself, in the structure of a person. Those tzitzis he needs to wear, mitzvahs he needs to do on his head, like wearing tefillin shalom rosh. Then there are mitzvahs which have to do with olam, like mitzvahs atulis ba'aretz. And there are mitzvahs which are totally in Shana, like Shabbos and Miyadim, and Kol Maseh Emunah. So, and Kol Mitzvah Emunah. That means the Ma'aseh Hashem and the Mitzvahs Hashem are everything is totally in each other. Now, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when everything in this world is going Kitikunan and Kesidron, the Rebbe says, then Hashem is like Misane Kavyachul in the world, like Yismach Hashem b'Maisav, like a Baal Malacha that's Nana from the Kli that he made. And the simcha of Hashem is mislabish b'mitzvahs, because the mitzvahs are achdos pashut of Hashem. So, in the middle of a person who's nana from the mitzvah itself, what he's being nana from, the simcha which he has from the mitzvahs are the simcha that Hashem has, that when he sees a world, and he sees how nice it is, how perfect it is, and when there's something in the world which there's a gzera on, which means that right now there's something which could cause kavyachol. So the Hashem the Yismach Hashem Ma'asav can be mukuyim the way it should be, then memela Yismach there won't be a kim of Yismach Yisrael ba'osav, and then the person will feel. When a person sees vayitzatzev eliboy, when the kavyachol has vayitzatzev eliboy, then a person, when the Shechina says kalani meroshi, then a person who his simcha is a simcha mitzvah itself would feel that the lack of simcha, and then he would also know which mitzvah he feels a kilkla simcha. He would know where in the olam shana nefesh there's a kilkla simcha, and that's what Chazal say. B'Shabbos zarchei mecha b'Shabbos, the simcha tani olam haba, which is Shabbos. A person should remember Shabbos, zarchei mecha b'Shabbos. A person should feel the mitzvahs and the simchas mitzvahs already me'echad Shabbos. That's also b'yom titin tzchorei, that the mitzvah that we have to pay our workers every day, that's in of being nana and being samech from the mitzvah, from the schar mitzvah of the mitzvah itself from that day. The loisav shemesh, that not to wait for Bias Shimshoi, wait till Olam Haba to feel the Simcha Mitzvahs. The Rebbe says weiter that the main Simcha is in the heart. Nasata Simcha V'libi. The problem is a person can only be Sameach if he takes out that Kmimi Shibalev. He should have Yashis Alev, like the Pasuk says, Uli Yishay Lev Simcha. And the way we're mafshit akmim shibalev is through thunder, a bechina called thunder, ra'amim. Like Chazal say, le'nivru ra'amim ele lefashit akmim shibalev. Now, before we go weiter to explain what Yishay Lev Simcha means, so Reb Nosson in Hilchos Tefillin Daled explains that Yashis Alev and akmim shibalev means that everyone has ups and downs. As we're going to see later towards the end of this Amud, every person has ups and downs. That akmimius, it's krum, it's not straight. And yashis alev is when everything is going straight. To be miyashid akmimius alev doesn't mean that a person gets rid of akmimius. It's when he realizes that even the akmimius has a yashis to it, as we're going to see. Because we're going to see later what the akmimius shibalev are, all the maniyas and tsaris that a person goes through, the chesronis and simcha that person feels, then those are the kmim shibalev. But somebody who's looking for the simcha in the end, then he's not. Then even when he does mitzvahs, the kmimius causes him that he's not able to feel the simcha because now he feels a tsar, now he feels a mania, now he feels something which is stop. So his only nechama is that he has simcha because he knows in the end everything's going to work out right. In the end, la'as lavai, everything will come out right. But he doesn't have simcha from what's going on right now and all his akmimius and all the manias that he has to go through. The fashit akmimish shebalev means to come to a place that in all the manias and all the chesar and simcha afapichin to be simcha, and the way you get there is through what the Rebbe calls ra'amim. In the Ramim, the Rebbe says is koil shadam moitzi b'koyach b'tfilasei. When a person davens b'koil b'koyach, so it's a what does this mean? So on one level it can mean b'pashtis that a person davens loudly with his voice, not necessarily screaming, but he puts koyach into saying the tefillah. Some people want to say that means even to daven with kavana, you b'koyches. More than that, also it means that like we said before in Torah Aleph when we spoke about Torah b'koyach, tefillah b'koyach could mean even when a person has no chiyas, and even when he's feeling a kmimius and he feels thrown away from davening and he feels he's on a low. But afal if he gets himself to daven b'koil, however much he could, to try to say the words of davening with a koil and with a koyach, even though he doesn't have that koyach, that it's a level of some type of gevura and mesirus nefesh and forcing himself to say the words of tefillah. So the Rebbe says that koil, the same way that it hits a person's mind, the same way Chazal say that where does thunder come from? There's like a voice that leaves the land, the earth, and it hits the clouds and makes a thunder. So too, when a person's voice hits his mayach, the koyach, the gvuras and koyach and gvura, that a person's moitzi b'koil b'koyach gadol, and that koil is pegea that hits his mayach. So that causes tipin to come down. That causes comes a whiteness comes down from him, and that cleans him out. And it's pageb of it mitra and makes a coil of ra'amim, and those ra'amim are mafshit akmimius shebalev. It helps him to be besimcha even b'toich all the akmimius. When a person davens b'koyach, even b'toich akmimius, that gives him simcha b'toich akmimius, because the coil of the gevura which he puts into tefillah hits his mind and makes the bechin of ra'amim, and that ra'amim is mafshit akmimius shebalev. So the Rebbe says weiter that, and the Rebbe touches in a few psukim, Kamar Kavana, Misha Yish Begir Shemayim Devar of Nishmayim. That means if a person davens with yira, with koyach, because yira always has to do with gvura, and gvura is koyach, and that Veram Gvuroisov, and through that Devarim Nishmayim. Mishesh B'Yira Devarim Nishmayim. That means he's able to hear what he's davening. He's able to hear the words of davening in the oifen that he has ra'amim that's mafshed akmim shebelev. And through that you have a lev shemea v'hogus libi sfunais and satel avdecha lev shemea. The Rebbe ties this in also the name of kol shofar, that the asher dam yedei srua, that there's a das in the srua, in the gvura, in the coil of the shofar which comes out of the gvura. There's das because it hits the das and it helps to mafshed akmim shebelev. So Rebbe says that there's a condition though that a person has to make sure that his mayach is emptied from chachmas chitzanius and machshavas zaros, which chametz. He should be machmetz his mind by chachmas chitzanius and taivis, in order that when his coil hits his mind, it shouldn't get stopped. If it's atum betuma, if it's in mesimba, and also the person also makes sure that the yira, which means the gvura, this koyach gvura, which with which he is letting out the coil of his tefillah, should also be yira in the right way, and not with yiras chitzonius. Yiras chitzonius means that a person allows himself to be scared of things in this world, and not being scared of Hashem, being scared of things in this world. So it says that's Indian that Chazal bring down that Yorad Gavriel v'noatz kana b'yom, that Gavriel came down and put a reed into the ocean, and that's where the Rome got built on that kana. So it says Gavriel is Gavuris, is a yira. That person lets the yira be yorad, be mishtalshel, and go down, so that is pagea in his kana, in his the voice pipe, that his voice isn't able to bring out the words of tefillah and the voice and the koil of tefillah the way it should, and it goes down into the ocean, and the yam is yam chachma, that it gets stuck in yam chachma. It doesn't make thunder. The voice goes into his mind, but it gets stopped there. It doesn't keep on. It doesn't continue. Doesn't keep going to make thunder. So the Rebbe says the main thing is the person has to watch his mind. It shouldn't be chametz, and he has to watch his yira from yiras chitzanis, from chachmas chitzanis to yiras chitzanis. So it says that's ge'ar chayas kana, that Zohar brings down that the difference between chametz and matzah is the inyan of the ches. That the kana of the ches, when it's broken, it becomes a hay. So chametz becomes matzah. So the pasuk says ge'ar, you should make a fight like matzah. Matzah is also lashon matzusu meriva, that you should make a fight in the chametz in order to make matzah, and the fight is that, like the tzaddikim make a fight with the sitr acher in order that they shouldn't come close to kedusha. That means when a person watches over his chachma, she shouldn't have chachmas chitzanius, and not to have a hurayim. That is the Indian of the which that would be in the sitr acher. Then through that a person saved from chametz. And the Rebbe fears that a person has to have a munat v'samin, that all machlokes and kol matzus meriva sheish ben tzadikim shleimim is the whole purpose of it is kedei to be megarish the siddur acher, and that's a shana pasuk oizen shemas tichochas chaim, that any ear that hears tichocha, which means bekerev chachamim talin, that if there's between the chachamim talin is lashon tluna meriva, complaints and fighting. Now a person hears bekerev chachamim, but between the tzaddikim there's talin, there's fights, then a person should know that his ear is hearing tichochas chaim, because a person was paigim in chachmas chitzanius and that's the only reason why a person hears these merivas, and his whole tikkun is that if you realize that the only reason why he's hearing this is because of his paigim, and bevadim lo nifkam lo nishma l'chameriva sheben tzadikim ve'in hameriva el b'shvicha kedei shetoshu b'mavos l'chaim mechametz l'matzah meches lahei v'sashu megir ra mikol pagum, and to get back into chachma, dikdusha, and yer dikdusha. So in context, what we spoke before of Yashas Alev, Rav Nosson explains in Hilchos Tefillin Daled that this whole machlokes between the tzaddikim, this is every machlokes, every time a person feels that he hears something or he feels something which is merachik him from kedusha. Either he wants to become close to tzaddik and he hears machlokes on tzaddik, or a person wants to do anything of his in avodas Hashem and he feels menias, he feels being prevented. The person realizes the only reason why it seems to me like I'm hearing and seeing things which are pushing me away from kedusha is only because I really don't deserve to be niskarv to kedusha, and I need to hear that techacha to realize that becoming mukuriv to Hashem is not a privilege. It's a right. It's not a right. It's a privilege. It's something which we have to earn, and if we don't deserve it, then be'etzim Hashem mitzad echod shows us hisrachkis. But the whole chiddush over here is that if we don't listen to that hisrachkis, we realize that the only reason why we're hearing that is an asayin. It's not because Hashem really wants us to be merachik us. It's because since we don't deserve it, we need to hear hisrachkis, but we need to be miskaber, to be niskarev, even though we don't deserve it, because Hashem still wants us to become niskarev. And that's that k'mim shebelev. That k'mim shebelev, Rav Nosson says, and the machlokes between tzaddikim is the same idea. It's whenever I feel menias, which I feel the menias are telling me that you can't do it, or the menias are telling me that it's not going to work out, and that causes me not to have simcha, because I think to myself that it's like we spoke about in the previous Amud, that it's a person that he does a mitzvah, but he's mitzvah b'asiyasa because all he feels are the menias, and he has a nechama that he knows that lost lava he'll have schar for all his tzaris and all the tzar he's mitzvah himself to be Isaac avodas Hashem. But a person realizes that even the kmimius are yashras, that Hashem is really being mekarev me and being mesaken me by showing me this hisrachkis, and by showing me this hakmimish belev, and showing me this mirifa between tzaddikim, this is actually a tikkun, then that brings me simcha. And stavka through davening bekoil, and davka through davening bekoil or bekoyach, and letting the koil out bekoyach, and in a oifen that will hit my mind, in a oifen that will mix ra'amim, that is mafshet akmim shebelev, to realize that even that akmim shebelev is also simcha, and then it can be zeicher to liyat shelev simcha.